Your thoughts, Chamath, on NVIDIA's dipping their toe into maybe taking the bottom 30% of the stack of self-driving?
I don't have much of an opinion on that, to be honest. I think that sort of along the lines of what I said on the prediction show, I think that Waymo and Tesla are going to run away with this market, and I think it's going to force a bunch of consolidation in the traditional auto OEMs. I think the interesting thing is that they really doubled down and created a pretty decent test bench for robotics. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I think that reinforces what a lot of smart people, including, what Freeberg and Gavin also spoke about, just in terms of the long-term future for robots. I think that was cool. I was a little confused by the low-end PC. I don't understand what the point of that is. Maybe it creates some crazy deep-in market where you can buy GPU and then contribute it to some distributed network and allow some distributed workload to run on that, I guess. I don't know.
I think it's a toy, a hobbyist kind of device that becomes like a bridge. And we see this often in technology where somebody creates, even the original PCs, let's face it, they were kind of like toys and hobbyist devices, Arduinos, and the original drones were kind of hobbyist.
I guess the point is a toy to do what? Because if you're trying to do inference, everything is telling us that we're reaching the limits of training. And
that's an LLM, though.
Right. But
so the point is it's not,
Let me get to it.
Yeah.
So in this world of AI that we know it today, there's training and there's inference. And right now we think that there's training that's at a limit. And so now the market shifts to inference. So if you're going to buy this jacked up personal computer, what are you going to use it for? My suspicion is some sort of test time compute use case, which is an inference use case. But it's not clear to me why that's a better solution than all of the AI accelerators plus tensors that are now just prolifically being exposed to the market, whether it's Amazon exposing what they've done, whether it's Google exposing what they've done, a whole litany of startups exposing what they've done. So I was just confused. I don't really know what the whole point is.
What do you think,
but like I said,
about this? Yeah.
The robotics thing was interesting if the market develops in the way that they think.
So we're talking about maybe 2 or 3 different pieces here, Freeberg. Which one do you think is super interesting? This $3,000 sort of GPU for your desktop that you attach to your computer, you get to play with things locally. Do you think that's promising? Where would that go, if you had to guess?
So I think the bet he's making is it's not just LLMs, which is predicting text, but we've talked a lot about machine vision models, graph neural nets that are being used for weather forecasting. There's now these kind of genome language models that are trying to predict genomic output for biotech applications. There's also going to be kind of real-time machine vision and robotic response. We're working on this at Ohalo, and we're trying to figure out what's the right kind of runtime environment for these sorts of systems that are going to be using a machine vision and a robotic kind of response type system. And there's a lot of these industrial applications that are emerging. Let's say you're running a robot in a warehouse. Do you really want that robot in the warehouse to be sending data to the cloud and waiting for a model to run in the cloud and getting a response? The probability is you want to have that at the edge of the network. You want to have something local. And I don't think he necessarily has a strong point of view on what the types of models and industrial applications will be. But the bet he's making is that the models are good enough and now the chips are good enough that they can actually realize real-time responses using machine vision, using real-time input, and then respond quickly with a local model running, whatever that model is, to drive some output in the industrial setting. And that there'll be a lot of these sorts of applications, whether that's making predictions for biotech research, or whether that's for running robots in warehouses, or building new research models. Or maybe you could strap this PC on the back of something like a car, a tractor, a lawnmower, a humanoid robot, or any other set of applications.
Jensen Huang The visionary CEO of Nvidia has once again captured the spotlight with an electrifying keynote that has analysts and experts talking about it all day, every day. With one clear example of that being Chamath Palihapitiya, who changed his opinions on Nvidia as time went on, and it has become undeniable. With Nvidia's share price skyrocketing by an astounding 840% over the past 2 years, one might think this was the climax. Yet, the real story unfolding is far from over, as Huang hints at an AI-driven revolution on the horizon. His provocative revelations about Nvidia's leap into physical AI and robotics are fueling speculation and excitement. Join us as we delve into why Nvidia might not just be a stock, but a gateway to the future. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
You were excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it because I think I've been trying to figure out how they justify their valuation over the long run. And, I'm not a public market person, but I am fascinated with Nvidia. And, their cloud GPU business is definitely a majority of their revenue. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is them trying to grow into that and trying to expand in case, the music stops. Now, I don't actually think the music's going to stop. It's insane to me. Like, we haven't even barely touched what AI is going to do and change and all of the various things that are going to come from it. And, the early adopters cannot use Claude without getting shut down because of scaling issues. And I don't think those are artificially created based on the type of investing I'm doing. And so I'm very bullish on NVIDIA. It is interesting. It's an interesting thing to go consumer. And, the thing that really hit me was the fact that he kind of declared Tesla one of the most valuable companies in the world in the long run. It's interesting that he got behind Toyota, but at the same time, I don't think there's one single car company out there that has the kind of data that Full Self-Drive has and Tesla has. Yeah. So if they enter the robo-taxi market, I actually think they should buy Uber. Then it's kind of...
You should think Tesla should buy Uber.
Oh, yeah, I think they should buy Uber.
Well, that would be about 10% of Tesla's market cap at this point. If they paid a premium, it might be 15%, so it would be very similar to the WhatsApp.
It's kind of hard to believe, but it's true.
Yeah, it is true, yeah.
And then you launch that robo-taxi service, and maybe there's some sort of secondary aftermarket solution, kind of like Comma AI or something like that you can do for people's cars, where you can actually get anybody's car into the fleet and start self-driving. But it is true. This is going to be the largest breakout in robotics we've ever seen, if Waymo's any indicator. And, I read somewhere, I think that Amazon or somebody was looking at it. I don't know what was going on with Waymo, but, Lyft. Amazon was going to buy Lyft.
Yeah. That makes no sense, right?
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Well,
it doesn't
it's a
really
dying
make a lot of
brand,
sense.
and would the point be? I do think you're correct.
I think maybe delivery or something like that. I can't figure out what their play is there.
Well, it's not, and it's also not global. But looking at the Amazon and Waymo, Tesla, and Uber, I think Waymo plus Uber, Amazon plus Uber, or Tesla plus Uber defines who number one is, right? Because you would have a global footprint, and for the 5-10 years, maybe 10 years it takes to roll out taxis globally, you could have people drive. I mean, it's a really interesting thought process you have here, saying, imagine if there was an intermediary step where they sold less Teslas this year slightly than last year. You could just keep producing lots of Model Ys and give them to the Uber drivers, keep reinforcement learning going while the taxis and regulations get set. And then you would be able to put another, instead of selling 1.8 million Teslas, you could sell 3 million Teslas, 4 million Teslas to Uber drivers, get all that data and have the safety driver in while each region decides if they want robotaxis, where, how, etc.
The company's trifecta of GPUs for supercomputing, the drive platform for software development, and the AGX systems for vehicular navigation forms a robust ecosystem for self-driving vehicles. Citigroup's data backs this, predicting autonomous vehicle numbers will soar, painting NVIDIA as an undisputed leader in this arena. In robotics, Huang proclaimed that the ChatGPT moment hasn't just come and gone for conversational AI, it's soon arriving for robots too. The potential here is massive, with projected spending in AI robotics touching $1 trillion by 2040. While some skeptics view generative AI as a bubble, Huang and NVIDIA are already diving into robotics, hinting that what we've seen so far is just the beginning. But before going on with the video, are you into cryptocurrency? If so, check out our second channel, Investocracy Crypto. We bring you breaking news, expert analysis, and the latest trends in the fast-moving world of digital assets. Whether you're a seasoned crypto investor or just curious about the future of finance, we've got something for you. Click the link in the description to subscribe to Investocracy Crypto now. Don't miss out and stay ahead of the game. Now, let's get back to the video.
If you're taking in a lot of data and then you have to run a lot of data in a model, it's a lot faster to run that model locally. Like when Tesla runs self-driving, it's not sending the video images from your car to a server 1,000 miles away and then letting the server decide how to drive your car. The car is running its model on what to do with respect to the video imagery in the car. It's local because the ability for all that data to get processed in the car means that you don't have to wait for the internet to transmit data back and forth. You don't have lag time. You don't have the 60 millisecond or 100 millisecond response time.
You don't have it losing your phone connection and then not knowing what to do.
Exactly. Or the connection drops or waiting for a server to come online or a server breaks in the data center. Everything is local. So if you strap this NVIDIA computer, which is basically plug and play, you don't have to have hardware expertise. You could strap it onto the back of a humanoid robot or run research applications locally. So I think that there's going to be some really interesting use cases, whether it becomes a replacement for the Apple, Macintosh Pro Studio device, whatever, maybe we'll see.
Mac Mini 4, yeah.
The Mac Mini 4. But a lot of people have pointed out that actually the compute on this thing for $3,000 knocks a lot of Macs out of the field.
Bonkers.
So
I just can't run an operating system in the traditional sense. Sam, when we look at startups, I remember when you and I started investing, two of the driving forces was free storage, free bandwidth, and cloud computing. It drove a lot of ability to get a product to market very quickly, effectively, et cetera. What impact will AI have on all these startups that are originating now in 2024, 2025? Look into your crystal ball, and how do you think they'll grow, the footprint of them? How is this going to accelerate the startup scene?
I actually think we're going to see a Cambrian explosion of creativity and development of different things. And some of them are going to be stupid ideas and some of them are going to be great. But I think it's going to make our job, especially at the seed stage of investing, harder and harder. There's going to be there's just going to be a lot of people that have similar ideas at the same time that can execute quickly and do things at breakneck speeds that they've never been able to do before. And,
so picking the winner is going to be hard to figure out.
It's going to be harder and harder. Yeah. And it might be that, I've been thinking about this, do you invest in competitors, which is something I never used to do? Do you take a bet and index an entire category that you're interested in? What is the approach at seed and pre-seed? Because I think of an idea and I'm like, wow, that's really neat. And then I go and look out there and there's 30 people working on it. And that didn't used to be the case. And I think part of it is we've really unlocked a tool that allows people to do things that would have been cost prohibitive or gives them the ability to think, gosh, I could be an entrepreneur and I can try this and I could do this. So I'm seeing people experiment and do all sorts of things. As far as the startups, some of the AI stuff is just a feature. It's just table stakes at this point. It's like, a chat or whatever. And that doesn't really matter. But then you're seeing people reimagine games and reimagine, even things down to your kitchen appliance, et cetera. So I do think it's going to be very, very difficult. And I tend to sit out a lot of hype cycles. So I invested in power and compute, lithography, kind of all of the things that are going to be underneath all of this. And so I'm not sure how much of it I'm going to participate in until it starts to get to a steady state and you kind of can understand what's next, because the rate of acceleration is just so great that it's just kind of unclear to me sometimes, especially when it comes to these consumer applications, consumer facing things. It's just really hard.
As the dust settles on CES 2025, NVIDIA emerges not just as a player, but a formidable force in shaping tomorrow's technology landscape. Despite concerns over high valuations, NVIDIA's stock remains an attractive proposition given its transformative potential in AI and robotics. With earnings growth anticipated at 38% annually in the coming years, NVIDIA is not just promising, it's propelling. In stock market lingo, it's a rare opportunity that's both disruptive and durable. NVIDIA's strategic advancements into physical AI and robotics underscore its commitment to staying at the forefront of innovation. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
You had to pick between Sidecar, Lyft, and Uber. There were 3 people doing it, and it was pretty clear who was the most qualified, amongst those 3. You now, to your point, if you want to be involved in tax plus AI or legal plus AI, you might be looking at 50 companies, 100. And it was tradition in Silicon Valley to not bet on competitors. There were some notable exceptions. When you run an accelerator like I do, Techstars or Y Combinator, you aren't bound by that because 50% of the companies pivot almost by design. So I think you just have to, at pre-seed, because people pivot, you just have to tell people, like, listen, we have a lot of pivoting going on. People are going to run into each other. I can't just bet on one thing, right, in a space. But I think that's a reasonable compromise. If all the founders are going to keep pivoting to each other's businesses, how can the investors even keep track of that? It's like being aircraft traffic control of 10 airports at once. It's just not feasible. Go ahead.
You wouldn't think it, but there's still a lot of spreadsheet companies out there. You think you'd run out of them, but they're still out there. You look at, and I think this is where AI is really going to make a difference, like RFP proposals for governments, something that takes like 30 days and it's manual and you have to submit these horrible documents. You can ingest your entire corpus of, all of your previous bids and submit them at a breakneck speed now and win more contracts. So that becomes like a national defense company at that point. And so I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting things where a lot of cruft is going to disappear. And that'll be a really interesting wave that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah. So in fact, Chamath has made a big bet there with his time, with his software startup that he's created.
Investors should consider NVIDIA not merely as a stock to hold, but as a stake in the future. So what do you think? Is NVIDIA merely a wave, or is it the future's tide ready to lift all boats? And finally, if you would like to know what companies like NVIDIA have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen. See you there.